Sri Lanka. I love it here. We decided to make Sri Lanka our home, and Bengalese is much easier to speak. Go to court, and the judge will give you your time to talk. And if he likes what you said, he'll go, you know what, that makes sense. Bam. You know?
The mentality now, especially after the crisis, that they have to leave this place to have a better life. What is your take on that?
Wrong. It's wrong. Does your country have problems? Yes. Does every country have problems? Yeah.
Yeah. Did you come with a backpack, just a backpack, Chris, when you first came to Sri Lanka? Okay. So let's introduce yourself, Chris.
My name is Chris Wyatt. I grew up in America on a little island on the east coast of America called Delaware. Mm-hmm. Had a very unusual kind of life, and I found myself in maybe about 2010. I had moved to Peru, and nice. Just for kind of a change of pace, and had no real aim at what I wanted to do. I just wanted to live with a different culture and, you know, see day-to-day life from some different angles. And it kind of seems like fate now that kind of aimed me in this direction. But I can kind of how I got here a little bit, how I guess we ended up talking would be, I was in Cusco, living in Cusco, and I really wanted a cold Coca-Cola in a bottle. And it was like, oh my God, it was so warm and so hot. And I ended up, I couldn't find a cold Coca-Cola. All they had was beer that they had cold. So I got a beer and I went to the park, and I noticed a lot of homeless women, like women and children, homeless, and they were setting up like a little encampment in the afternoon. And so we can maybe get into depth on these things later, but that kind of put me on a mission where I ended up starting a school for single moms. And I realized at that moment, everything clicked. Oh man, I can live anywhere I want. And if I go at the world in a way where I'm not necessarily thinking about me, where I'm kind of looking at being part of the community, I could make a really good life and live almost anywhere I want. And off it went. I was completely addicted to this moment where I kept seeing people go, oh, everything's okay. Mom has some money in her pocket. The kids have shoes on their feet. They're going to go to school tomorrow. There's food and prospects for more money tomorrow. And I just started chasing that everywhere because I realized no one would help their neighbor if their life wasn't in order. So it was like a chain. If I helped this auntie, she would all of a sudden help that uncle, and it would just spread out. Sure. And I, had to learn valuable lessons along the way about when to help, when not to help. Sure. Those were hard lessons. And I had tons of, I call them Americanisms, where I know what's good for you, this kind of thing. I know what will fix this. And those were things that really had to be broken. And over many years, a lot of different countries, and I ended up in Sri Lanka just to look around because it fit my checklist. And
when was it? The first time you came to Sri Lanka?
What are we in, 2025? This would have been like late, maybe 2016, maybe somewhere in there, 2016, 2017.
What did you do back in the US, Chris, as a job, as a career?
A lot of things. Yeah, a lot of different things when I was living in the US, but mainly I did like custom motorcycles and cars and this kind of stuff. Ran a few businesses. So I already kind of had this kind of, I don't know if it's an American mentality or I can't tell you what it is, but like I can make my own destiny. I can go where I want. I can kind of do what I want. And you know, and yeah, so that's
I think
mainly it.
that should
Always
be the
creative
mentality of
things.
everybody now.
Yeah, I would hope it's a good one. You know, it's
Yeah,
a
it's
good
a
one
good one.
to look at the world as a big place, not this is my country and I
Yeah,
owe something to this place. And no, man, the world, we're all people. We're all on
yeah,
a little blue marble hurling through
yes,
space together, you
yeah,
know?
with endless opportunities. So, Chris, the first time you came to Sri Lanka, what did you feel?
Yeah.
How did you see it?
I liked it immediately. It was familiar. There was something very, very familiar about it, you know, coming out of the airport and the tuk-tuk guys trying to tell you there's no bus and, you know, all of the standard stuff that you know, you kind of get. And I noticed immediately I liked the weather. It was, I think the first time I got there, it was maybe 2:30 or 3 o'clock in the morning, you know, and it was still gorgeous outside, you know,
Mm,
like oh, this is great. And I liked in the beginning the transportation and stuff. You know, it was very easy how I kind of went where I went the first time. I kind of travel openly. So I went out to the bus stop by the airport across from that little diner, and
mm-hmm.
the next bus that was going by, I got on it, and it went to Mulativu,
Oh,
and then it was it's still one of my favorite places in Sri Lanka. I love that place.
wow.
And yeah, so
So
that, you know,
you
I
didn't
felt
have a plan on to like where to go, down south, the usual
no, I wanted to look
touristy.
around.
Mm,
I like to look around and see what's missing, because when you try to do community work or you try to do volunteer work, you really need a way to fund these things. So usually I'll attach it to some tourist business. So
mm,
one of the first things I did was open a guest house in Mulativu, because
mm,
you're the only game in town, and it's exactly like a good day's bus ride from Trenco to Mulativu, Mulativu to Jaffna. So
yeah.
we were packed immediately. People going this way, and then they would stay again on the way back, and
Okay.
it was wide open for they hadn't been used to tourists, so there are these lulls, like no noise after this, oh my God, you could do whatever you wanted, you know. And so I liked it. I liked it immediately. But that's one of the main reasons why you need to kind of have a business to go with it. So no clear plan. Just see what's
Mm,
missing and
yeah.
start small though, very very small.
Yeah. So I'm assuming those days Mulativ didn't have many guest house for tourists,
None,
or was there? No. Yeah.
none.
So that was a
We
risky
were
move, risky
Yeah,
plan.
but I knew where the buses went, and I knew the statistics on how many people traveled north. And I really love history, so I learned oh so much about Mulativu. So I could sit on the balcony with guests and tell them stories about the stars and the fishermen and this and that, and you know, different moons, and people loved it, you know.
Mm.
And not to mention the weather's great. The food I think is a little bit better than most of Sri Lanka. It's a little
Oh,
spicier and a little, you
that's a
know,
serious
I
claim.
like it.
We
Huh?
have to talk about it. That's a
Yeah.
serious claim. Okay. So, did you travel? Did you come to Sri Lanka by yourself or with a family,
Yeah.
Chris?
No, by myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Had a checklist of things that I wanted to look at.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, you know, I started checking them off immediately. I started seeing all the signs of what I'm looking for in a country
Great.
immediately.
Great. Okay. Yeah. So why did you choose Sri Lanka? I think you already told us a little bit, but
Yeah,
if
a
you
little
want
bit,
to
but
add.
I look at a few things when I'm choosing a country. I look at, okay, what is the immigration like?
Mm,
What is the banking system like? How
mm,
hard is it for me to open a business, the work visa, you know, what have you? What's the general cost of living? What kind of cash crops? You know, what
mm,
kind of farming is really good? Are there young people actively farming? That's a
mm-hmm.
big thing, and that Sri Lanka
Yeah.
has above a lot of countries. What is the school system like?
Mm,
I like to build schools, so I'm looking for a place like Sri Lanka that has standardized testing.
mm,
You know, because like in a school that I would work with, it's hard for me to get with like 14 or 15-year olds and really make a difference. I want the kids since they're tiny. You know,
Yeah.
and so introducing these viewpoints. And when you have a school that has standardized testing, say one kid really loves motorcycles and one kid really loves art. Okay, that's great, but you got to give me 45 minutes for math on Tuesday. Yeah, yeah, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, because I got to get you to this level. Who
Yeah.
cares the other things you learn? But you pass this math test, and then we can continue on. Because what's important in Sri Lanka is that piece of paper. You know,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter what you really know or not know. It's that piece of
That's right.
paper.
Yeah.
And so that was another huge plus that I liked about Sri Lanka. And yeah, it checked off all the boxes, those things. Immigration, it could, you know, for Americans is relatively easy.
Mm-hmm.
Getting a work visa, you know, it can be complicated, but there are many workarounds. Can't get a work visa, make a company, give yourself a job. You know, that like, you know, there are ways to round this. The banking system, Sri Lanka hasn't had a bank failure, oh, in a long, long time. But you
Yeah.
need to be a citizen in some capacity to access it. You know, a
Mm-hmm.
regular savings account there, if you do like a fixed savings account, you can get 20% interest in some cases. You know, put 100 euros a month in that for 10 years. You know, that's okay money in the end. And you know, there Sri Lanka was very good about those kind of things, and the young people farming that pitched me over the edge. Being even just in the bus and seeing kids in the rice paddy, you know, with the udara, you know, that was like, you know, okay, I'm onto something here. And then there were so many things missing. You know, there was so much opportunity just falling from the sky, you know,
True.
and yeah, so after a little bit of time, I said, okay, this is the next one, and it's going to be Sri Lanka.
Great. Did you buy a house or a property in that area in the north of Sri Lanka, or you're still renting, or?
No, I mainly do leasing things
Mhm.
at the moment. I am purchasing little pieces of land around,
Mm-hmm.
but that's for
You
kind of
can
different.
buy an apartment, isn't it? As a foreigner, you can buy an apartment.
Yeah, I could buy an apartment, but I'm a legal resident. You know, I have a
Mm-mm.
spouse visa, and I'm yeah, and I've been there for some years. I've had work visas, and I have companies, so I could do it. But mainly at the moment, I kind of stick to leasing because I like to share things out. And while I move very slowly, I learned to experience to never overextend. So
Mm.
like I might like say if I open a guest house with a couple of rooms, very simple. As a few guests come, you make repairs. I never go boom buy the stuff bang bang bang. No 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 no.
That's wise.
That's a surefire recipe for becoming overextended. You know,
True.
Corona showed a lot of people that.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people what can happen if um some part of your economy just disappears. You need to have
Yeah.
things that are recession proof.
Yeah.
And tourism is not recession
Mm.
proof by a
Yeah.
long shot.
Yeah. Not only Sri Lanka, everywhere else it was affected very
Yeah.
badly. Um, okay, so from what you say, I guess you have a Sri Lankan spouse.
Yes.
Okay, and
Yes.
you guys
Yes.
have kids.
They are my kids from my first marriage. But that's also kind of funny. I married a German woman in Guatemala, and
Wow.
just so happened to be Tamil. I
Mm,
had never really even heard of Sri Lanka that much, but it was already in my list just through research. I
yeah.
had like I had I think Portugal, Rwanda, Cambodia, Sri Lanka, and Canada. Kind of looking in my criteria for places, and then yeah, so we ended up here in Germany, and yeah, so that's kind of how that went. That's why I'm actually in Germany at the moment because the
Mm.
Our children are going to primary school here. And
Okay.
just very shortly thereafter, I went to Sri Lanka for the first time.
Okay. So the kids are not schooling in Sri Lanka, right? They are still in
No,
Germany.
that actually was the original plan.
Hmm.
I would have much preferred them going to an international school there in Sri Lanka. There's one close to our house. There's a school bus that comes directly in front of our house every day. And it's a really good school. I have two nieces that go there. They read and write in three different languages with three different alphabets. And they're like 9 and 10. Oh,
We
that's
had to go
great.
through that, yes.
Yeah, and that's a great thing. I do like a little bit of some of the things that Germany has to offer,
Mm-hmm.
but it's mainly because they learn different boundaries here in Germany. They learn to say no. This is too
Hmm.
much for me. This is my limit. This is, that
Yeah,
is important. But
true.
one thing they don't learn here is this community, brother,
Mm-hmm.
sister, auntie, uncle. They don't learn that here. They learn that everyone's at arm length,
Yeah,
kind of thing.
yeah.
It's, it's this kind of thing. So I think when they get a little bit older, the plan will be to head
To
to Sri Lanka. Yeah, because German is such a narrow window. Like, yeah, it's great. Okay, you get an education here in Germany.
mm,
Germany is only a tiny little boop in the world. They're not, the opportunities are not endless here. By no means. The world is a big place, and there's better things to see.
yes, true.
And
That
so
is
my
one of
kids
the
have a
reasons.
real, huh?
Yeah, please go on.
My
Sorry.
my kids have a real connection to Sri Lanka though, because their mama and tata, speak to them in
Yeah,
Tamil, and but they also speak German and English,
yeah. How
and so they
often
have a
do
real
they go to Sri
connection.
Lanka?
Um, Pretty often, but actually over the last year, they haven't been there in a year, because my daughter started a new kindergarten,
Mm.
and it's here in Germany. Another good thing, they have a wild kindergarten, so she has a kindergarten in the forest,
Mm. Wow.
and that makes her really solid kids. That is going to be a project of mine in Sri Lanka, is for sure a forest kindergarten.
Okay, yeah, sounds good. Yeah. Uh, all right. So, what about the language barrier, Chris? When you go to Sri Lanka,
Yeah,
I assume you've traveled to many parts of Sri Lanka by now, yeah?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
The
yeah.
inland and the south and the east.
Sinhalese is much easier to speak.
Okay.
It's because it's an Indo-Germanic language that
Mm-hmm.
comes from Hindi, and it has a familiar structure.
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically about learning the word. Because the actual word might be so far outside of anything that you can relate to, and so you can hold it in your head, but the structure of the language is very easy.
Okay.
There's no articles. You don't have to worry about
Yeah.
is or this.
You don't have
It's
we don't have genders. Oh.
it's so easy. It's a matter of like remembering the words, and anything that ends in a duh is a question. Kohomada, koheda,
Yes.
mukakta. It's so okay, that's a question. And then you really break it down. Like, I'm trying to think of something that I would say all the time. Ah, mata beer kaoni.
Mm.
You can, me beer one.
Yes, yes. You can
And there's
structure the
no.
sentence somehow.
Yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah,
very similar to English, where your
true.
grammar is not terribly important.
True.
You can get the sentence out, and as long as it's all there,
Yeah, yeah,
then you can put it together. Now,
yeah.
Tamil, on the other hand, is I understand, so much Tamil, but it's a hard one to reproduce, where the sounds come from. But I
Mm-hmm.
noticed in Tamil, you can fake it a lot. If you can fake it, if they know what you're supposed to say and you get close to it,
Mm-hmm.
then they'll answer back to, because they don't enunciate a lot. Like when I was always going back and forth to Mulativu, I would always, the bus that goes by everywhere, Vonia, 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 Vonia,
Yes.
I would get on that bus and go to Vonia, and then I would catch the bus for Mulativu. And
Mm.
I would always go to the man and I would say, does this bus go to Mulativu? And he would go, eh. And I would go, like, Mulativu. And you would have to prepare yourself and go, okay, Multivu. And he would go, oh, multi, because he's not saying mulativu, he's saying multivu,
Yeah. Mm.
and you could, walk up to someone and say, Upriokinga. But if you broke it down,
Yes.
they would look at you like you were crazy if you sounded, you know what I mean? So that's a
Yeah.
difficult one for me.
Yeah.
My wife will be talking to me in Tamil, and there'll be two words that I didn't hear a pause in
Mm.
between,
Mm.
and I'm like, hold on, what? What did you say? So yeah, sometimes it can be difficult, but it's fun. It's
Yeah, that's
always
an
very fun.
interesting way to look at it. First
Yeah.
time I hear this. Okay. Yeah, when I was trying to learn Italian, Spanish, everything has a gender. The objects, the table is female or the
Yeah.
bottle is male. So confusing. But yeah, Sinhalese, I
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
to give
Yeah.
it the credit. Yeah. Okay, so since you have established businesses in Sri Lanka and done so much, tell me about the bureaucracy. How do you see it? Do you like
Ooh,
it? Is it easy?
yeah. And
Feel
there is
free.
a serious amount of bureaucracy. And this is coming from someone who has, lots of interactions with German bureaucracy,
Yeah.
and Sri Lanka kind of has them beat in the amount of bureaucracy that they have. But where they win is it actually works in a way.
Mm-hmm.
It can work, as long as you know the basics. Where do you go to get proof of address? Who do you contact when you want to do a business registration? Where do you sign a marriage license? Where's the lawyer's office? Once you kind of learn these things, it's not too bad to deal with. I like that they're actually there, though, that you can
Mm-hmm.
go to the big office and talk to a representative. And I might have a little bit of privilege in that sense that I can almost show up anywhere and I will get a meeting. I can, like when I was in Mulativu, I like to make friends with the police and the military, and just so everyone knows why I'm here, what I'm doing. And I went
Mm-hmm.
right to the 5th Brigade there or whatever, and immediately had tea with the commander of the base. And I'm sure that's a little bit of a privilege, on my
Mm-hmm.
end, that maybe the average person can't pull off. And I realize that and acknowledge it.
That's
Um,
great.
but I've noticed the government's been very accommodating. If you write them a nice proposal and you have a good intention in what you want to do,
Mm-hmm.
in most cases they will say yeah. They're
Okay.
often very pessimistic, but they will say yeah. But we've had lots of projects that they've said no, and then hell no. you know, um, you know, but some of them we've not agreed with it and kept going with them.
Mm.
And then you end up getting the police come, but that's how you kind of can lead to clarity when there's no clear rules. Show me where in the law it says I can't make noise after 9 o'clock. Show me. You want money for tourism, you want money for this, but you're telling me like my hands are tied. I can't have fun with anyone.
Mm.
And but you can, like, that's what I like. You can go to court and the judge will give you your time to talk, and if he likes what you said, he'll go, you know what, that makes sense, bam. you know and you're like, oh my god, I can't believe this just worked. Where reasonable and a reasonable articulable idea, someone let, you know what, that makes perfect sense. I can give you an example with noise. so much trouble over noise in Sigiriya.
Mm.
And we ended up getting it fixed because the phone shops in Dumbala are allowed to have music till 2:30 a.m. Why? Why do you need music till 2:30 a.m.? And the judge said, he's right. If the phone shop can do it, why can't the tourist business do it? Now, no noise problem.
So now, right
And
now
it's good
you,
for everything.
yeah, right now you have the business in Sigiriya, right?
Yeah, I have a few around Sri Lanka.
Ah,
But
okay,
yeah,
all right.
Sabini is at this moment our home base. It has
Oh, okay,
been for some years.
okay. Oh, because I approached you from that profile, so that's why I was thinking. Okay,
Yes, yeah, yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
so when you first came down to Sri Lanka, Chris, when you brought them a proposal, how did they see it? Like a foreigner wants to start something in Sri Lanka, were they welcoming at the first
They said
glance, or?
yes. Yeah, they said yes. Come back with the right visa. Because I
Mm.
was just there as
Which
a
is a
tourist. Come back.
residence visa, the right
Yeah, I was a
visa.
tourist at that time. Like
Oh.
when I first got there. And so I came back to them with the right visa,
Mm-hmm.
and they were cool. Sounds great. Have fun. You know.
Okay.
So yeah, it went pretty easy.
Okay. What about the food, Chris?
Oh, I love the food. I like spicy, and I've lived in many other countries where and many other cultures where it's normal to eat with your hands. And maybe even a little bit more like it's normal to all eat out of the same plate.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that it was fine for me. There are some things I don't like the lake fish, the
Mm-hmm.
dried fish or the fish sambal. If you make me
Mm.
sambal, great. I don't want it with the dried fish in it. I
Oh,
something but muleti, with the fresh seafood,
yeah.
I eat that all day. But the tilapia, not my thing. Not my thing at all. But other than that, I like it. I eat so much Sri Lankan food. We eat Sri Lankan food here too, still, pretty much every day.
Your wife cooks, I bet.
Oh yeah, yeah. She's incredible. She's a trained Indian chef and
Oh, nice.
incredible cook.
Nice. Okay. In terms of facilities you find in Sri Lanka, we talked about the school. What about the transport and other facilities?
Yeah, you know, um, it's very easy to get around and it's very cheap. If you're willing to take the bus and blah blah blah. Oh man, I mean, you could go almost anywhere on the island for like 4 or 5 euros. If you're willing to take the bus.
Yeah.
Um, there are problems though with transportation, not necessarily with transportation. It's traffic laws don't exist unless there's a police officer standing there. And I'm sure you've seen lately lots of bus accidents, right?
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
very normal occurrence. I think one huge thing that would solve that is no stopping on the road. When you see, the uncle, hey, they pull the tuk tuk and stop right in the middle of the road, that makes
Yeah.
the bus need to go in the other lane. Stop when there's a reasonable place to pull off and stop. That one thing alone would change the way it moves. And everyone is in a hurry, and I'm not sure to get where. You know, I'm not sure to get where. But hurry, big hurry. But I love driving there, and I take a scooter, or I think a tuk tuk is one of the best ways to experience Sri Lanka.
Hmm.
But if you're a budget backpacker, which a lot of people are now, there's some extreme budget backpackers out there now, and
Sorry, there are two flies, baby flies. They want to join the podcast, I guess.
wow, I can't see them.
Oh, okay.
um, you know, so the way the bus moves around are pretty easy to catch, and you can get anywhere. Never believe when someone says there's not a bus. There's a bus. There
Yeah.
for sure. There's a bus.
Yeah.
And
Some are
yeah, so
crazy,
I
but
think Yeah, they're crazy. They're for sure. They're absolutely out of their mind.
Yeah, I
But
have a question here, Chris, before
yeah,
I forget. You know, these crazy buses with lights we have in Sri Lanka. Now the
yeah.
regulations are coming to remove unwanted parts, but some foreigners are romanticizing it, yeah? And the
Yeah,
bus
the chicken
owners are
bus.
saying, "Oh, look, we are bringing tourism." What is your opinion about this? I
Yeah, let
personally
them go
don't like it,
crazy.
but
Yeah, let them go crazy. I think because I actually have one of my future plans is to do something very interesting with a bus. So I hope they let them. I hope they let them keep it. Um, other countries they have chicken bus. We call them chicken buses because, like in Latin America, there's always going to be an auntie on the bus with a chicken. Always.
yeah, I've seen
It's just
videos.
always, she always got a box and there's a chicken sticking out of the box. In Central or South America, you can ride on the roof. They're
Mm.
okay with it. It's like completely normal to go. You know what? It's a gorgeous day. I'm gonna ride on the roof. But they don't drive. They don't drive like they're in an action movie though.
Mm.
They
Yeah.
they're driving the bus. These guys are they're trying to get
Yeah.
somewhere.
Yeah, they need
you
to do
know.
something with the speed limit for sure.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, right? There is speed limits, but they don't
Yeah, I mean the
exist unless there's a
following the
police
speed
officer
limits,
around.
practicing it, I
Yeah,
mean.
yeah, right.
Yes.
And that's more of that's a long time thing, it's a cultural thing. It's got it's going to take lots of time and lots of examples. Um, but it could be some small things with big help, like don't stop on the street,
Hmm.
pull off to the side, things like that. Because Germany here there's a speed limit on the autobahn in most places. There's bicycles and there's scooters and there's slow moving vehicles. There's not bus crashes every day.
Mm-hmm.
So it is doable. It is, but surprisingly low numbers though. The first time I was actually in Colombo to look around, I was like, oh, I have to Google how many car accidents there are a day because these
Mm.
people are out of their mind.
Yeah.
Like 13 or something. Nothing. Nothing. You know,
30.
it's nothing. Yeah. Okay. They're doing something right.
Maybe they all got used to it. They know how to,
Yeah, you do
drive in this
relatively
madness.
quickly. Yeah,
Yeah.
when you make a left-hand turn, don't just make a left-hand turn. Make sure no one's passing you on the shoulder before you turn left. You know, but you get used to it.
Yeah. So, what were the cultural shocks when you first came to Sri Lanka, Chris?
Oh, there's been a few. Um, I'm sure you've been hearing a lot about what like they're calling it what the tuk tuk mafia or like these
Oh.
things where right you've been seeing a lot of this, right? This kind of stuff was shocking to me because I would have thought so this is not just with tuk tuks. This is with so many different aspects of all kinds, not just tourist businesses.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that would have been something they would have figured out is a really bad idea. Because so many decades and decades in the tourist industry, I would have thought, how can't they realize that this is a terrible idea?
Sure.
That was one of the first ones because when I started doing things in Sigiriya, the people were super territorial.
Mm-hmm.
They hated my guts. And it took, I've learned a lot about volunteer work, and you have to give them something to show them why it's a good idea to have you around. And that took a lot of effort with
Mm-hmm.
people in Sagitia, a lot of effort to get them to start looking at me as a neighbor and realize, oh, I'm not coming here to buy every piece of property. I get their point, their
Mm-hmm.
skepticism.
Mm-hmm.
but they were looking at it, in my point of view, they were looking at it from the wrong direction. They were looking at it in that I wouldn't be a teammate. And then it kind of started slowly where they realized, oh man, this dude will help for nothing. You know, if we ask him a question, he'll go, yeah, I'll be there tomorrow. You know, and that was like a game changer when they realized that I was just there to try to be one of them, that I wasn't.
Mm,
Also another reason why I don't just build things. I look at, there's a reason they do the things the way they do in most
mhm,
cases. And
mm,
so I try to learn the way they're doing it. That was a culture shock. Another one was one like what kind of what I was talking about with learning boundaries with kids and things. It's a beautiful thing, but it's a counterproductive thing where people have a lot of trouble saying no. And that it's beautiful. I love it. But it can really waste a lot of time because you're not going to hurt my feelings. And that was kind of a new kind of experience for me where you would like, I'm trying to think of something like, I don't know, I need pallets, right? I need some pallets. So you go to the neighbor and you're like, Uncle, where can I get some pallets? And he's like, oh, I'm going to call my friend. He
mm.
knows where to get pallets. And he calls him, his friend doesn't answer. And Uncle says, for sure, I'll talk to him tomorrow. Come back tomorrow. And tomorrow comes, you call Uncle, he doesn't answer. You call him again, he doesn't answer. You call him again, he doesn't answer. You go to his house, and he actually didn't know where to get pallets. He just didn't want to tell you no. It's super sweet, but it was in some ways quite frustrating.
True.
And I want, you know, I if you tell me you don't know where to get pallets, it's not a no, it's not a big deal, bro. I like it, everything's
Yeah.
cool.
To cut it
You
short.
know, yeah. I'm trying to think, you know, the yeah, that's about it. Like those were the two main kind of shocks to me. That oh, the doctor too. The amount of medicine they give people. That was a big one.
Mm.
That, you know, the neighbor would, you know, his sister would go to the doctor because her stomach was upset and come home with 15 different pills that she's supposed to take, you know, 15 a day over 7 days. And you're like, why? For what? You know, this is a crazy, but the Ayurvedic doctors are amazing. You know, the stuff they do it's rooted in something. Some of it sometimes sounds really crazy, and then you're like, wow, that worked.
Can I
It
add
sounds
something here, Chris?
crazy. Yeah,
Can I add something here? I lived in Dubai for a long time. And there, when you go to the doctor, you get medicine in packs. Like you have to buy in packs, like three
yeah,
packets of this, 4 packets of this, 3 bottles of this. I never understood this. So Sri Lanka, I think, is somewhat better.
yeah. Okay, yeah, yeah. In Germany, there's nothing like if you went to the
Yeah.
doctor and said you were sick, he would
He'll
say,
give you an
drink lots of
appointment
tea. No,
three
they would
months
say drink
later.
lots of tea, get lots of fresh air.
Oh.
They're not giving you medicine, you know.
Mm, mm.
Maybe some ibuprofen if you had a headache, but that's about it. You know,
Yeah, a
they do it
painkiller or
but they'll
something.
tell you to go have a warm beer. Go have a warm beer. You'll feel
Warm.
better.
Okay. So the properties and the houses and all that, Chris, how easy to find? Do you use any website or just ask people
No.
around?
Yeah, I look around a lot and I've realized that if I go at it openly and with no expectations, I tend to find some really amazing places. Like our house in Mulativu was complete chance, and I fell into it in a beautiful way. There was nowhere for me to stay, you know, when I got there, so
Mm,
I had to find a place to stay. And the fishermen have like a community hotel for out of town fishermen. And I was like, okay, that works. I'm super easy. I don't care what it looks like. I don't care what kind of bed is that. I don't care. And so I went into this fisherman's village and into this hotel for fishermen. And one of the fishermen said, "Do you know what? There's an old lady. Do you see that beautiful house right there?" And I was like, "Yeah." They said, "There's an old lady in there, and it's just her. And it's a huge house. Go talk to her." Went in there. The lady spoke 73. One of my favorite human beings in the world. I call her grandmother, it's Mama. And she was in a 7-bedroom house, just her and her rosary bead and a picture of the Virgin Mary.
I can
And she
picture
would
this.
sit where she could see the gate, and sit in her little chair with her rosary where she could see the gate. And she spoke perfect English because she went to a boarding school. But
Wow.
she spoke like this. "Hello, it is good to see you." Like that. But I really loved her off the bat because there's no beating around the bush. She tells you like it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, after all of this stuff, I love this. You're gonna tell me like it is, And yeah, so I would make agreements with these people, and I like to share a lot. So like I do a lot of farming, and I'll give you an example. Like you see all of those, anytime you drive through Sri Lanka, you see like a small little white house, right? On big land with nothing on
Mm-hmm.
it, maybe some rice paddies or something, but overall nothing on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's easy to find. So I'll go to one of these people and I'll say, okay, I want to put coconuts in, and I'm going to pay for the fence, the electric fence, the coconut, the well, the maintenance, all of these things. I want you to take care of the coconuts. And in that time, while the coconuts are little, you can grow all kinds of other vegetables because now you have
Yeah.
a fence,
Yeah.
right? When trees get big enough that, say, a cow can't bite the top off of them, then you can let some goats, some chickens, some cows go in there.
Mm-hmm.
And you keep 51%, I keep 49%.
Mm-hmm.
But you'll probably not going to see me for 4 or 5 years. And because that's how long it takes for them to come in. Now,
Yeah.
fair trade will they'll pick the coconuts, count the coconuts, pay you for the coconuts, and screw off. And I don't know if you've ever done the math on coconuts. What's a king coconut now? 100 rupees?
No.
So, huh?
150
Right.
minimum, I guess.
Yeah, okay, 150. Each coconut tree makes about 250 coconuts a year, and you can fit about 250 coconuts on 4 acres. And that's around, I don't know, what, 27,000 euros a year
Mm-hmm.
that you would get off of that after 5 years with no
Yeah.
maintenance.
So we are talking
It
about
makes it,
Tambili here, the king coconut.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And
Yeah.
that's it's a staple there. It's recession proof.
Yes.
Sri Lankan coconut in everything, and they
Yeah.
always will. Just like they eat dal, but they don't grow it. You know, that's a weird one.
There is a shortage
And
of coconut now, by the way, in the island.
yeah, exactly. And so I've been on to these kind of things for some years, and it's good for everyone because now you've created, like, instead of every day they sweep their yard into just a patch of dirt, now now they're green and stuff growing. And our house in Sagitia, when we got there, this giant house with a huge yard with a wall, dirt. They hired an uncle to come once a week and keep it dirt, you know. and, we put sprinklers out there and made some water tanks and dug a well. Now it's absolutely gorgeous in there. Fluffy,
Nice.
soft grass and green trees and lots of animals. And so
So,
that's kind of how I do it.
okay. So I want to ask you something which will sound funny, but did you come with a backpack, just a backpack, Chris, when you first came
Yes.
to Sri Lanka? Okay.
Yes.
I'm asking this. I just want to pass a message to our viewers. Yeah. Now, the people are looking down on backpacking tourists, but you never know, they can come up with a huge benefiting project to uplift Sri Lanka, people like you know.
And that is one of the issues with Sri Lanka is I will be the first to attest. I work with so many tourists. And yes, some backpackers are such a pain in the ass. Some of them. It's like they fancy themselves
Mm-hmm.
hotel people, but they don't have hotel budget, you know?
Mm.
And these people can be a nightmare. But that is the way of the world now.
Yeah.
Backpackers run the game.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things whenever you want to, to ask about some of the downsides, is that's one of the main ones, is Sri Lanka wants to be a country that lives off tourism, which is great. I think it's a great idea. But you have to know your demographic. You need to know your market. The days of these like British backpacker or British, high
Luxury
class
tourism.
safari
Yeah.
outfit, they're gone.
They're
They're
gone.
gone.
Yeah.
Um, Backpackers spend about 20 euros a day on activities and about
Mm.
20 euros a day on food and lodging. I want to have as many backpackers as I can.
I'm in the same opinion, because now
Yeah,
the world
and
is accessible.
yeah,
Travel with your means, whatever you have, the little money you have. I would actually encourage Sri Lankan youth to do that. Go out, take a backpack, just a couple of shirts or t-shirts, whatever. With whatever you have, just go see the world. When you come back, you're
yeah,
bringing knowledge, about
yeah,
how
yeah,
others live, the cultures. I think it's a good thing. But yeah, I know
yeah.
some people can be a pain.
Yeah, they don't want to let you make fun with the tourists in a lot of places, but it's like, okay, when someone comes from, say, Sri Lanka and they move to France, right? What are they really getting? They're getting a white box,
Mm,
buy a bunch of other white boxes,
yes.
and so that's kind of what I've noticed, this especially with my neighbors, is they'll check guests into their house, into the room, and then he's like, bye, and then he drives off. No,
Mm,
no, 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 no. I'm telling stories. I'm making fun. We're going on trips. I'm going to spread this human being around the village. We're going to go hit my favorite place for Kotu. We're going to go to not the big wood carving shop. We're going to go to the tiny little uncle that lives around the corner that has wood carvings in his living room. We're going to go to him. And, we're going to take a tuk-tuk. We're going to rent bikes, and so you're going to leave a little piece of your heart there, where like, oh, this was amazing. It's why Sigiriya was rated the most welcoming city in the world, right? It
yeah.
was not like that. We worked really hard with a lot of people to make that happen over a lot of years. And it's flattery, if you what we kind of do there, you see duplicated everywhere in Sigiriya now.
Mm-hmm.
Where in the
Mm-hmm.
beginning it was, we don't like you, go home. And now and that's the biggest form of flattery, because now everybody's winning. If one
Yeah.
place is busy, they go to the next place that, because I tried this thing with when I first got there was maybe 5 or 6 restaurants. There's enough themes for all of us. Like, why is everyone doing this fried rice and kotu and the
Mm,
same exact menu? Like, why don't you do barbecue? And why don't you do like a really loungy kind of place? And why don't you do something super hippie? And why don't I'll bring people. I'll give you volunteers and artists, and I'll help you along the way. And eventually, it started to work out little by little. People are smart. They see when
yeah.
something's going good. And that's why I worry about Sri Lanka a lot, though, when it comes to these tuk-tuk drivers or this like little mafia, because backpackers will also find new ways.
Yes.
During Corona, when there was no booking sites, Facebook was where all of our business came from. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
think of it.
Mm,
Backpackers figured it out of necessity. Booking.com was dead. because no one was taking care of their properties. So everyone was booking rooms, showing up to a property that's closed with no one there. So people stopped using booking.com. The same thing will happen to the average tuk-tuk. I would predict, in a year or 2 years from now, all tuk-tuks are going to be on Pick Me or Uber, or why are they not now?
Yeah.
Do you not want volume business? Petrol's pretty cheap. Jump in your tuk-tuk, make 7 or 8, 10 trips for 1,200 rupees at a time. Shit, you're paid for that day. That's
No,
good
I'm a Sri
money.
Lankan, but I wouldn't hesitate to say this, that because they want to rip off. They cannot do that if they go on a systematic system like Uber or Pick Me,
Yeah. And then the
Yeah.
cheap backpackers fall for it all the time. The really cheap ones, they'll get a Pick Me, and the Pick Me driver will message them, cancel the ride, and you don't have to pay the commission.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll cancel it. The driver will pick them up. He won't be in the car, he said. It'll be a way more messed up car, and then he's going to try to charge you more in the end. You know how you ended up there? Because you were worried about €1.50,
Yeah.
to pay the commission, and now you learned a lesson.
Mm.
But they will learn. They will learn. Nothing.
Okay, Chris. So overall, how do you rate your life and experience in Sri Lanka? What would you recommend the newcomers to do or consider?
I would say overall, Sri Lanka is it's a solid, for me, it's a solid 8.5 out of 10 kind of place. There are places that if I was a single guy, without kids or a wife, like, would fit me a little bit better. But as far as family life, Sri Lanka's, top of the heap. As far as other people coming, the main thing I would say is keep in your head is patient. That should be your mantra. Patience, patience, patience. Don't move too quick. Things like security deposits, what do you call it? Key money.
Mm-hmm.
In most cases, you are never, ever going to see that again.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be too quick to jump on it. Come up with an alternative. If you say something like, okay, no key money, but I'll give you an extra 5,000 a month for the first 2 years or something like that, because you are never going to see that money again. When you want to leave that place in 2 or 3 years, they're not going to have it, and you're going to end up going to court and all these kind of things, and with like the bureaucracy, you could end up having made a mistake somewhere in the line, and it's dismissed, and then you're out whatever you had in the game. So move very slowly. Know the law, but don't be afraid to make mistakes. Please don't be afraid to make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes, and don't worry. I don't know. This message would be more for Sri Lankans coming back, but don't. Who cares what the neighbors say? If they go, oh, this guy thinks he's so smart and he's going to make this business, and oh, it failed, and now he's trying something different. Ignore all that. Ignore all that, and follow what is right and smart.
Yeah.
And for like foreigners coming in, it's stay patient, understand what's going on, but also understand you're in a community and you're in a different culture, and
Yeah.
you can't, if you have a guest house and your neighbor every Friday night likes to have some friends over for some drinks and bites, and they put some music on, or they're banging on the drum, singing a song about their mom or something, like, you can't get upset, brother. You can't get upset. We get reviews a lot like, oh, the neighbor was having a party and we had trouble sleeping. Oh, you're on vacation,
Go
like
dance
other
with them,
people.
integrate with the
Yeah, other
locals.
people. Yeah, don't mess. Let the neighbors do their thing, and also thinking you know what's right. Like as a foreigner coming into a
Mm,
country, don't assume that you have a monopoly on what is right and what is wrong.
true.
That different people look at different things, and don't think you're so smart. I can give you so many stories of people coming to Sri Lanka. I know quite a few right now that have came and gone. I can think of 5 off the top of my head. I'm going to move to Sri Lanka. I love it here. I'm going to be a farmer. But I'm not going to be a farmer in the Sri Lankan way. I'm going to be a farmer in the way of the country I come from.
No.
And it won't work.
Yeah.
Oh no, in my country, we plant corn this close together, not this close together. Well, brother, there's a reason they plant it that far apart. And
Yeah.
people are chickens. I know a dude that came and bought chicken houses, and now I'm going to do it the way we do it. Nope, he ended up with a lot of dead chickens.
Mm,
and he went back to wherever it was he came from,
mm,
or people coming and having problems with um, not making a proper agreement and thinking everyone's going to deal on words.
mm,
That unfortunately can be a big problem if you really, even the nicest uncle, I no matter how much I like him, no matter how many times his wife invites me over for dinner, make an agreement. Make
mm.
an agreement with a lawyer,
Yeah.
and
Make it legal.
make it legal, and research the laws and things like that. Small things. You're not going to get a lot of accurate information. The police in a lot of cases don't fully know the law either, and they will tend to listen to. I can give you an example. During Corona, there was this little window where the government had said tourist businesses can open. We opened. The local politician did not think that was right.
Mm,
The police listened to him,
mm.
even though we were doing nothing wrong. And it was a little bit of a problem. And then it sorted itself out. But they didn't
Yeah.
follow the law. They followed what he said.
Yeah.
Um, that's a
Hopefully
problem.
now it's changing
It is
with a
changing.
big
It is
reset.
changing a lot.
Mm,
And I've seen a lot of examples. In some ways, it's great. It's nice to have a back door to something,
mm,
but it's unpredictable. Say like things with tourism and like alcohol, for example. You can't sell alcohol, or you couldn't. They changed it, but you couldn't sell alcohol within 200 meters of a school, right?
mm,
And there were so many rules and regulations from the excise office on what you can do and what you couldn't do. So what did they do? They put a school directly next to the biggest tourist attraction in the country.
mm,
So then you tie everyone's hands, so the way we did it was not maybe the actual legal way to do it, but in the end it worked, and now it's changed for everyone.
mm.
you know because me, even as a grown adult, I wasn't allowed to have beers in my own refrigerator because my house is a guest house. If the tourism police showed up, they would say, oh, he's selling beers. But now you're allowed. They heard enough people complain that this is ridiculous, that tourists want to come, they want to drink beers, they want to
Mm.
party, they want to listen to music, they want to talk to girls, they want to do this, they want to do that, and you need to make it available or you're going to lose them. I remember talking to one of the I don't one of these ministers in the tourism industry, and they were talking about they wanted like Sri Lanka to be able to compete with like Mexico or somewhere like that, and no, there's no way. It's too easy to have fun in Mexico. It's
True.
too easy.
Yeah, we
You
have
want
some
fun,
cultural
there's fun,
barriers.
there's fun. And Sri Lanka is not like that. You have to go looking for fun.
True, that's true. So Chris, there is a surge of Sri Lankans leaving the country. Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with it if they go out, work, learn something, come back, contribute, or start a business here, something like that. But the mentality now, especially after the crisis, that they have to leave this place to have a better life. What is your take on that?
Wrong. It's wrong. I have talks with this from people with all walks of life. There is, yes. Does your country have problems? Yes. Does every country have problems? Yeah.
Yes.
So, thinking the grass is going to be greener on the other side. If you think you're going to move to Germany and you're going to get a job in a grocery store and you're going to become wealthy and you're going to retire nicely, you are wrong. And I have this talk with Germans. They think that they're going to, whatever their job is, that they're going to pay their taxes and they're going to go on their 2-week vacation every year. And when they're old, their retirement's going to come in and it's going to cover their bills. It will not. It will not. Every state has a calculation. They have a calculator online that you can go to. It's not looking good. So this is a myth. Sri Lanka has tons and tons of opportunity. True. But part of the culture is it's not a normal thing to make mistakes. People are scared to try new things and to, not everyone, thank God, but quite a few people, have the means and opportunities in front of them. And they don't do it. I get asked all the time, how do I come to Germany or how do I go to France? First, open a bank account because you have no paperwork, you have no documents, you don't even use the bank account, pay some bills, don't be a ghost, learn the language, look for a job, and then they don't do any of it. And they ask you 2 weeks later, hey, brother, have you found a way for me to come yet? And you're like, have you done any of the things I asked you? No. And especially with the tourism boys, oh man, I'm hundreds and hundreds of employees over the years. Some of these boys, they meet a tourist girl and they are locked in and they are sure she's going to take them back to Spain or she's going to take them back to France or she's going to take. Okay, brother, let me run this scenario by you. I've never seen you write an email. I've never seen you fill out a piece of paper. I've never seen you do anything. So let me get this right. She's going to go back to her home country that you don't speak the language. She's going to do all this documents, all this stuff in the foreigner's office, all these things. She's going to bring you there. You're going to have a hell of a time finding a job. You're going to have a mountain of paperwork what she's going to do it for. How long is this going to go on? 6 months, 8 months before she's going to be like, nah. And you're going to be right back here looking for a job somewhere. And I've seen this happen so many times.
Yes, I would like to add something here. Even let's say they found some tourists come to Sri Lanka, found love. They have to go through mad nightmares to apply for a visa for the partner, So
yeah.
it's not easy.
You have no idea. I'm bringing my wife to Germany just for a visit.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Nightmare.
You have to prove this, prove that, files and files of documents. It's not easy for us.
Sometimes they say no.
Yeah, even they can say no.
Everything, they just go, nah, we're not feeling it this time. Yes. It's madness here. And it's not, I have a great business partner there, and he got really lucky where he left and went to Dubai and came back to Sri Lanka and ended up getting with a foreigner girl, going to the place, but he realized it. I don't like it here. I really don't like it. And they actually like, oh, we understand they parted ways as friends, instead of some massive breakup. But what he brought with him back to Sri Lanka was, we're all thinking wrong about what tourists want. We're thinking wrong. They want this, and we're all thinking they want this. Yeah. And he's super successful now. And he wouldn't leave Sri Lanka if you paid him. You know, because it works very well once you know what you're doing.
That's my brother right there. Okay. So yeah, Chris, we can I'm actually now I'm thinking I want to do a podcast with you, separate podcast, maybe the second episode with you to talk about the opportunities you see in Sri Lanka that the locals don't, the Sri Lankans
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Let's yeah. Okay. So to wrap this up, we have a lot to talk, but I have limited time. So if someone is thinking to make Sri Lanka their home, like you did, uh, what would you recommend or advise them to do? Or what if you had to do the move all over again? What
Over
you would
again.
have,
Yeah.
yeah, done differently?
Well, no matter where you live in the world, it's the same things.
Mm,
What do I eat? Where do I sleep? How do I look after my family? But
mm-hmm,
it's in different ways. No, people solve these problems in different ways. So the first thing I would do would be get a place that you can rent rooms out. It's never going to make you rich, but what it will do is supplement that. Where do I sleep? You
mm,
know, the next thing, do something with farming or a restaurant that has to do with tourists also, because
mm,
then there's the what do I eat?
mm-hmm,
And so you've knocked two of those three things off of your list already. And that's would be a good blueprint to kind of stick with. But you have to know, yeah, and understand statistics. Don't think that you're going to be able to let's say move to somewhere like Sigiriya where
mm,
it's very saturated with guest houses
mm-hmm.
and think that you're going to all of a sudden do better than everyone else, unless you have a lot of experience at this
In it.
stuff. If you
Mm,
have years and years of practice at this and you know what you're doing, then maybe that's a different story. But I would suggest going somewhere a little outside of the tourist area, or maybe like between two tourist areas, something like that, and do your own thing. Do some farming, do some restaurants, use volunteers for a lot of things, work with the community, and it'll all work out as long as you stay calm and patient, and keep the idea in the beginning of that you're going to get rich, but definitely understand that you can, but that you need some kind of money. I get this from a lot of sorry, people who want to move to Sri Lanka, where they say, "Oh, we don't need any money. We just want to
mm,
farm, and we don't really need any money." I
no.
really wish it was like that. You're wrong, and you're living very dangerously, because what happens, Corona, what happens this, what happens that,
Yeah.
and then all of a
Not just
sudden
Sri
you
Lanka,
can't get to the
anywhere, I
farm.
think.
Anywhere. It's sad that it is that way, but it
Yeah.
is a necessity.
Yeah. True. Yeah. Okay. So, to summarize our conversation, Chris, would you recommend a foreigner to come and settle down in Sri Lanka to make it their home?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. As long as they have the right expectations.
Mm,
If your only idea is, hey, I want to be a farmer, don't come to Sri
mm,
Lanka. It's great if I want to be a farmer and but if you just want to
mm,
be a farmer, go, like, you can go somewhere many, many better places. But if you want to be a part of a community and make a much more family,
mm,
and you want to work in an industry or something like that, then yeah, if you have some life goals, I would say Sri Lanka. If you already know what you want to do this and
mm,
this, then I would maybe pick a different place. It depends.
mm. Okay. So, do you want to talk about your projects, Chris? Anything?
um yeah, I would like to talk about a couple of things. We have a great restaurant called CR Indian Foods in
Mm-hmm.
Sagadia. It's in absolutely incredible food, and it's all homemade, everything from scratch. My my wife is the head chef. She dries everything in the sun, makes all of their own masala and chili powder, and everything that's in the food is
Homemade.
all natural and all homemade. And it's absolutely incredible. And I would say that's about the only thing that I would mainly want to touch on, and maybe give a little promotion to. Everything else is over busy, and volunteer projects and things like that are maybe a little not the right platform,
I
especially with
understand.
the way visas and things are.
Yeah.
But that would be it. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, I will definitely visit your wife. I'm excited since you said she dries everything, makes her own spices.
It's incredible.
Oh, sounds
Every
delicious.
person, is like, oh my God, this is the best food I've had. And
I'm
especially
sure.
Indian tourists traveling, the first
Yeah.
thing they say is, oh, I've been here for 8 days, and this is the first time I've had real food. you know, but she lived abroad for a long time, also in
Mm,
Malaysia,
mm,
and came back, and we decided to make Sri Lanka our home. And we do go back and forth, and she will be here a lot. In Germany, we do. I have a lot of businesses here too, and different things that I do. And yeah, I have some ideas for her and some things that she can run with. And the kids are getting older, and
mm.
we have different plans coming up in the future.
Yeah.
And yeah, big stuff on the horizon.
Yeah, you need to be multitasking to live in this world
Yeah,
now.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So good luck with all your projects, Chris. And
Thank you. You
yeah,
too.
and regards to your wife and family. So good to have you here. And I am
Yeah, that's
actually really
awesome.
going to do another podcast with you about the
Okay.
opportunities in Sri Lanka. I think you are the right guy to talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Yeah. So let's wrap it up for now. And really
Yeah,
appreciate
thank
your
you.
time and your
No,
input,
it's my
your
pleasure.
experience.
Super fun. Yeah.
Thank you, Chris.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bye.
See you soon. Bye.